you, Melinda.
Hi, Rachel, Bilson. Hey, everybody. Happy day to you and welcome to the OC, bitches.
Today's a very, very special day because we are celebrating Chrismukkah.
Yes. I'm almost speechless because this is one of the most exciting, most iconic episodes ever. And I brought my ugly Christmas sweater, but it's a little warm. It's summertime right now. So I'm not going to put it on because I don't want to be schwitzing.
Make it a decoration. I have my Christmas pajama attire that matches my daughter, but it's dinosaurs and Christmas.
Yes, I went into my daughter's closet to find this as well.
An ugly Christmas sweater. That's awesome. Yes. So the best Chrismukkah ever, episode 13 of the first season is what we're covering. And I have just been counting the days till we get to this one. Mm-hmm. One of, like you said, one of the more iconic, I think, episodes. And Chrismukkah kind of took everyone by storm.
Oh my gosh, there's so many iconic moments. And I think we should get right to it because our special guest is going to just give you all so many behind the scenes information that this is what this podcast is all about. So let's get to it, right?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Make you bigger.
I'm good. How are you?
Look at your shirt.
Oh my gosh. Okay, for our listeners, it's a t-shirt with Stephanie's face and Josh.
No, it's
Sandy and Kirsten.
No.
Oh my gosh. You and Josh have become Sandy and Kirsten.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. That's what it looked like for me. So my eyesight's going, Stephanie.
Okay. Stephanie Savage is with us, everyone. I know we just jumped into it, but we're just super excited that you're here, Steph. And we are going to let everybody know.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, people, we have such a very special day today. Not only are we discussing, like we said before, one of the most iconic episodes of the OC, episode 13, the best Chrismukkah ever, but we get to discuss this with a very special lady, executive producer, screenwriter, showrunner, Stephanie Savage. Stephanie is a Wonder Woman of TV and film with a prolific resume of some of your favorite shows. Her talents have touched Charlie's Angels, The OC, Gossip Girl, Heart of Dixie, Dynasty, Runaways, Nancy Drew, Looking for Alaska, and again, the newest Gossip Girl. And most of this has also been brought to you guys by her partnership with Josh Schwartz and their production company, Fake Empire. Welcome, Stephanie. That was just a little bit of what I could have said about you.
Yes, we are so thrilled that you're here, and you definitely will know more than anyone else. So we look forward to that. And congrats on the premiere of the new Gossip Girl.
Thank you. Yeah, I just got back yesterday.
So cool. I loved everything on the red carpet. I mean, they're killing it. It was so cool.
It was really
very,
fun.
very exciting. Yes, can't wait to watch it.
So, Stephanie, normally we love to start at the beginning, but I have to ask this first question. Was this script your first writing credit? Do you feel like it's your favorite firstborn? And are you still as proud of it and in love with it as we all are?
Answer, yes. So I met Josh when I was working at Wonderland with McG, and I was an executive, a development executive and production executive. McG and I had done one show previously at Warner Brothers, and we had gotten an overall deal there. And then I was very shocked when they called to say, like, what are you developing this year? Because coming from the feature world, I was like, what are you talking about? We just made a show. Like, now we have to make another show? Didn't realize that in TV, you make shows every year. So we had to develop something for them. And McG was actually from Orange County. And I thought that was a really interesting world because it was such a mashup of, like, you have the music scene at the time and, Gwen Stefani and Sublime, and you had surf and skate culture and beach, but also you had, like, Republican values and country clubs and gated communities and McMansions, and kind of like, how did those two things combine? So it felt like an interesting world. And that was something that I was pitching to writers as an area, which just meant having people come in, have a conversation. What are you interested in? And in that world, a show really could have been anything. It could have been, beach cops, or it could have been like a saucy soap about real estate agents. Like it could have been anything. And Josh came in, who I had never met before. I'd liked his writing sample and was like, I'll meet with this guy. And he pitched he really locked into the idea of doing a teen soap, which was a genre that was very dear to my heart, not necessarily something that McGee and I had talked about doing, but I was a huge 90210 original show fan. And there wasn't anything on. Dawson's Creek had gone off the air. 90210 had been off the air for a while. And it felt like it was really time to do something like that. And so Josh and I started working together on this pitch, and then eventually the script. And then all the show got ordered, and all the craziness that you guys have already been talking about, and kind of Josh's journey, and the incredible experience that was shooting the pilot, going directly into series order, staying basically in continuous production so we could be on in the summer. And then over the course of that, he was like, you kind of seem like a writer. Like you don't really seem like an executive. And I had, been a writer in college and graduate school. But when I came out here to Los Angeles, it was to work on my PhD because I thought I was going to be a professor. And I had really kind of given up on writing. And he was like, why don't you write a script? They wouldn't let me write it in an episode till we got our back order. Our back 9, which turned out to be our back, whatever it was, many more than 9. And they were like, well, does she have a writing sample? And like, we don't really, and Josh was just like, she's writing a script. It's going to be the first one when we get our back 9, and I'm going to guarantee it. So if I totally whiff, Josh would have rewritten the script. And based on that, they couldn't really say no. So that was a tremendous opportunity for me. I had written on other scripts before. I'd done some work on Charlie's Angels. I'd worked with McGee on Superman, but nothing that had gotten made or that I'd written from scratch that I got to put my name on it. So this was that first opportunity. And it was really meaningful. I mean, it really honestly changed my whole life. And also, I think, solidified my dynamic, Josh and I's dynamic, where I had started as his boss and he was like delivering the script to me. And I was like, or giving him notes. And then now I was the baby writer giving my script to the show creator and like hoping that it was good and that he liked it. So that's a super long answer.
No, but that's great. So cool. And what an episode to have written and like be the one. I mean, probably the most iconic episode of the OC.
It was really fun, and it was a real group effort. We love the holidays on all of our shows, but especially on the OC. The Thanksgiving episodes were always very special. I think we're one of the only teen dramas that did a Passover episode. Like anything that was a family holiday, we were all in. And so being able to do what started as the first, holiday or Christmas episode was really special. And then being able to figure out what that was, what the Cohen family as a mixed faith family would have as their holiday. And coming up with this notion, the theme of the episode is like combining things. Seth has Summer and Anna, and is he going to have to choose? And with Chrismukkah, you don't have to choose, but kind of using that theme as a way to structure the episode. And then, of course, Ryan, coming from where he comes from, where not only does he not have any great family traditions that he wants to share with the Cohens, but the holidays are actually kind of traumatic for him.
Right.
Right. I know a lot of people that the holidays are not particularly nice. Yeah. So I love that you represented both of those things.
Yeah. And that was something we were always trying to do, especially in season 1 with those Ryan stories, was to find a way to, it's Thanksgiving, but he's got to go see Trey, and he ends up having to like steal a car or, return a car to get, Trey out of debt. Or it's the holidays, but, he has bad associations with that. And, Marissa's having a bit of a meltdown. So that it wasn't like once Ryan just came to the OC, everything was great and he didn't have any issues. So how to kind of pull through his past and kind of keep that part of his character alive was something that we talked about a lot.
Right. And then there's the word Chrismukkah. And so I think that's kind of one of the bigger things. Like, was that something that was discussed between you and Josh? Did you guys come up with it? Was it from something?
That was definitely in the writer's room. So once we decided that they were going to have this merged holiday that was like 8 days of presents followed by 1 day of many presents. And that like, it was something that as a child, Seth had sort of cooked up and like forced onto his family.
To get presents.
Yeah, exactly. That what to call it. So we talked about, is it Hanukkah? Is it, Hanukkah Christmas, or what's the right word for it? And then Lauren Gussis, who was our a writer's assistant at the time, she knew a family that celebrated Chrismukkah, and we were like, yes, that sounds way better than all of these other like things that we're putting on the board and trying to make work.
So the term Chrismukkah came from a writer in the room?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I, of course, looking up and preparing for this episode, I was fascinated to learn a new term. And I thought I wanted to ask you what it felt like to create a portmanteau neologism. And right. I was
know.
What a portmanteau, meaning two words combined, like lunch, brunch, lunch, and a neologism meaning a recently created word that's not wholly accepted by the world. But at one point, Time Magazine listed it as one of the buzzwords of the year, and it's also was added to an authoritative Chambers dictionary. And then
I didn't know that.
There's so many things, and so we've commented so many times about how the OC not only reflected pop culture, but created pop culture. Did you have any idea that something as significant as Chrismukkah would have been created into the culture, has its own Wikipedia page, all that kind of stuff? Were you...
Short answer, no. We had no idea that was going to happen. And in retrospect, we were like, should we have actually like done something with that? Like, why didn't we come up with like our Chrismukkah wrapping paper and, greeting card?
Well, do you remember the Yama claws?
Yeah.
Did you guys make those or did somebody else make them?
Well, I think Warner Brothers actually made some official Yama claws in whatever season, 2 or 3.
I remember Josh being particularly super excited about the Yama claws. So somebody had created it and all of a sudden they were everywhere. And some fans wanted to know if we all had some kind of Chrismukkah celebration on set. Do you guys remember if we ever did anything like that?
I don't remember that we had. Michael Lang definitely dressed as Santa one year.
With a yarmulke on, probably.
He might have just shown up at work that way.
That's just his uniform.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
When you and Josh started the OC, and obviously, and Josh has shared that, that he was just doing what he liked, whether it was music or hanging out with the kids and taking their personalities and putting it into the script. I'm curious about, you've done so many things now as a successful showrunner. Do you consciously do that now? Do you work the same way? Like, what did you take away from the OC that you use now in present day for your shows?
I mean, that was for both of us just a huge, huge learning curve. I eventually season 2, I quit my job working at Wonderland and came on the show full time as a writer. And then that led to Josh and I creating Gossip Girl together and starting our company. And so that was just like a huge seismic shift. And I really learned how to be in a writer's room and how to like break stories properly. Because a lot of what I knew how to do was just more, and I think Josh too, he'd never been in a writer's room, was just more like instinctual. And in some ways that's really fun, but it's also really hard and can be hit or miss. So to really learn how to be in a room, how to properly break a story, there's also like a kind of story math that comes from working in television where, we had 8 days to make an episode. We were 5 days in, 3 days out. You have to sort of internalize how to write a story that's going to fit in that pattern. And that just takes a lot of, just got to break a lot of stories. In terms of having a young cast that was, were becoming superstars right in front of your eyes. A lot of lessons were learned from that. It was, it's just a completely immersive experience for those 4 years.
You seem to have that touch on a few different casts that have young kids that, get projected into stardom and whatnot. It's like the magic touch you guys have.
Well, we love discovering new talent. It's truly for us like the great pleasure of being able to, writing is fun. You can tell a story, but then when you're moving into production, putting that cast together for both of us is the most fun part.
And can that be a challenge with unknowns and network, say? For instance, like you had Peter Gallagher, who was an established veteran, and then you have the leads of the show as essentially unknowns. And in your subsequent teen shows, is that ever a battle with the network, or do you have to go to bat?
It's almost always a battle because people are just very nervous, and they like things that are known quantities, and no one's going to get fired if they hire somebody who's, has a deep resume of successful work behind them. Even if they turn out to be terrible in the role, it's not going to be your fault because it seemed like on paper they'd be good. But when you're dealing with young casts, like nobody has that deep of a resume. Maybe they've done like one or two things, or maybe they've done, barely anything, or they've been in their, they studied drama in college or something, or were in their high school play. Like it doesn't really matter. And so they get very, very nervous, and they start putting the actors through their paces of, it's not enough to just, we used to do, I know you guys have talked about the live test, which was just like completely nerve-wracking and also totally tells you nothing about how someone's going to be
right.
On screen in an actual scene as a part of an ensemble. But then they'd also ask for like a screen test, and they'd want hair and makeup, and like we imagined that this character had certain colored hair or didn't have curly hair, like just really crazy things. And you just have to like push, my hand got really big. You just have to push through it to you believe in who you believe in, and you overcome the obstacles to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've talked about that. I definitely was not the look of Summer that was imagined, even by Josh when he wrote it, I think. So, but you guys have persevered and quite successfully, I say. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about like, Gossip Girl and all of that good stuff.
I mean, I was still very relatively young. I'd done a few series in my past, but what the OC taught me, and I'm sorry, listeners, if I repeat myself, but I do, but it taught me to take chances and experiment when you're doing long form television and you have that many months. And I don't know if I've said this here, but when I would open a script and I look and I just get excited about the dialogue that you all would write for me in particular, I couldn't wait to get to work. And I have a question for you. What's your advice for actors who try to change dialogue? Because in my world, I was taught that every syllable has been thought through, and it's my job to memorize it and say it exactly the way it was written.
In my experience, and that might be clouded by my perspective as a writer, but if the writers have really locked into the character and are letting the actors kind of voice and persona be a part of that character as they move forward, say your dialogue. Because over time, talking to people looking back, the actors who are like, I never knew if I could change anything, so I always just said, exactly what you guys wrote, came away from the shows with really strong, crisp characters. And the actors who were like, just kind of said the idea of what their dialogue was, felt like their characters didn't have a strong voice and they didn't connect with the audience as much. And definitely as an actor, if you don't understand something or like, it's confusing to you, you don't know how to play it, for sure ask. And sometimes a line change might come out of that. There's also sometimes actors or the writers forget something like that happened in a previous episode, or maybe something that was written one way, but was acted a different way, or sometimes the actors remember performing something one way, but that's not what we used in the edit. So it's, over communication is required sometimes, but.
Do you remember who would stray the most from their dialogue on the OC? I think I probably know, but.
I won't name any names, but some people all say, like, Adam did a lot of improv, but Adam was also really good at saying his written dialogue and then adding something at the end, or saying his written dialogue, ad-libbing something, then finishing his written dialogue. So that we always had a lot of options, and it was never like, oh, Adam didn't really say, the point of the scene, or like we're missing something. And that was a really like beautiful meshing of voices, especially I think for Josh and Adam, that the more Adam said his dialogue as written, the more Josh could write specifically for him, the more Adam could riff on that. So it created like a really strong foundation. You never want to feel like you wrote something kind of generic and lame and like, oh, the actor will just say something better on the day, because it's not fair to the actor to like have to write their own dialogue, but also like, you don't know what kind of day somebody's having or like what the vibe is on set. And so the script kind of acts as like a protection for that. That's truly one of my favorite things. And I think Josh talked a little bit about this too, is compared to features in television, the creating of that character over time with the actors is such an intimate and like unique situation where you write a character in a pilot, you cast someone, you get to know, and both of you are great examples of this. You get to know that actor, what they're capable of, what their strengths are. You get to write to that. That brings out that in that actor even more. Now they're really like blossoming. Now, Golden Girls is getting written into the script, or, you're being able to draw from that person's personal life. And that's, helping them connect to their character. And over time, together, you've really created something that I think in a feature, that might shoot over, 30 or 60 days or what have you, you're not getting that same experience of living in a character together and exploring them. And, I still dream about you guys. Like, you're still in my brain.
Oh gosh. Is it full of fake tans and high hair?
There's a lot of fake tans. There's a lot of high hair. Rachel, I actually wanted to say, because I know you brought this up, of like, why did we keep making you wear bikinis at the beginning?
Yes, do tell.
So the idea that we had originally was, obviously we couldn't go to the beach as much as we would have liked to go, and so a lot of times we're shooting on set. But we kind of wanted to pretend that the beach was just always over there and someone had just like run in off the water. And that it's true of kids. Melinda, I don't know if this was your experience, but growing up in Orange County and Newport, that they're just like, they are super good swimmers. They surf, they're lifeguards, they're, and there's a kind of like seamless, like bathing suit, cover up, shorts, denim mini skirt. But those kids also have, beachy hair. They're not wearing makeup. There's a naturalism to that. And of course, early on, we got the note from the network that they wanted the characters to be polished, which meant kind of like full makeup and like a nice hairdo all the time, even if you were in your room studying, or even if you'd like just run in from the beach off screen. So that kind of created this like weird, like, Summer's wearing a bikini and she's grilling, corn with like full hair and like lip gloss and like a winged eyeliner. And so after a certain point, we were like, we're not going to do the bikinis anymore. They won't let us change the hair and makeup. So Summer can start
let's change the
clothes.
clothes.
And also, I think we got to know your character and the way you created Summer. The Summer wasn't in and out of the water. Summer was like sitting on a blanket, with like.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. Yeah. She was just tanning. She was definitely
tanning.
not.
She was not there to like. She wasn't. No. Summer was not a junior lifeguard.
No, for sure. Well, I appreciate you clothing me for a while, but everyone had their bikini moments. So
yeah.
Very, very much so part of the OC. With a Credit Karma Money Spend account, you can be rewarded for good money habits. Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win cash reimbursements for making purchases.
When you use your Credit Karma Money debit card, you can win daily Instant Karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. Just pay with your debit card, and if you win, you'll be notified on the spot, and your Instant Karma cash will be added back to your spend account.
Open your FDIC-insured spend account for free. There's no minimum balance requirements, no overdraft fees, and free withdrawals from a network of over 50,000 ATMs.
And when you make a purchase between July 1st and July 23rd, you'll be automatically entered to win $1 million. Go to creditkarma.com/winmoney to sign up for free and start winning Instant Karma.
That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Right now, visit creditkarma.com/winmoney to open your free account and start winning Instant Karma.
Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking service provided by MVB Bank, Inc., member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply. Did you know that hydration can be tied to improved mood, better focus and mental clarity, more energy, clearer skin, and more? Water alone doesn't hydrate you as quickly as drinks with an optimized blend of electrolytes.
That's where Hydrant comes in. Hydrant is a refreshing drink mix powder made with 4 key electrolytes: sodium, potassium, magnesium, and zinc. It's made with real fruit juice powder and no artificial sweeteners or synthetic colors. No nonsense, all science.
Hydrant is a great addition to my lifestyle. I actually start my day with electrolytes. I also use them before, during, or even after a hard workout.
Hydrant Sleep is a new bedtime mix carefully formulated to promote restful sleep and hydration. Hydrant Sleep includes melatonin, magnesium, L-theanine, GABA, and chamomile to promote restful, high-quality sleep. I really like how easy this is. I don't always remember to drink water or anything, but with Hydrant, it's encouraging me to drink more and giving me all the electrolytes and everything else I need.
We've got a special deal for our listeners to save 20% off your first order, or subscribe and save 30% on your first subscription order. Go to drinkhydrant.com/TheOC or enter our promo code TheOC at checkout. It's backed by a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't love it, send it back for a full refund.
That's drinkhydrant.com/TheOC and enter promo code TheOC for 20% off your first order.
Drinkhydrant.com/TheOC and enter promo code TheOC to save 20%. And we thank them for sponsoring the podcast. Hydrant, where water meets wellness. I think it would be lovely if we could actually get into some of the specifics of the episode.
Sure.
Do you want to do the synopsis?
Yeah, I can read the synopsis. I bet Stephanie could probably recite it by heart.
I know. Do you know the episode just like scene by scene the way Josh knows the pilot?
I do, but then I also, coming home on the plane yesterday from New York, I watched the Thanksgiving, what we call Luke's Gay Dad episode, and Chrismukkah on the plane, which was really fun.
Oh,
how'd you feel about it?
I mean, as everyone said, those episodes really stand up. I remember like the big moves of all of the episodes, but there's a lot of small stuff that I forget. And like the Yoga Lottie's run that, in the Cohen kitchen is so funny. And it's so sweet to see, again, as we're kind of discovering like Ben's sense of humor, and like Ryan is getting more relaxed in the Cohen household, that he's able to like riff with Sandy and like make fun of Kirsten. It's really lovely.
All right, well, I'm going to read the synopsis for Chrismukkah. It's Seth's favorite time of the year, Chrismukkah. The part Christmas, part Hanukkah super holiday. Ryan is in need of some convincing to get into the holiday spirit. Marissa continues to struggle with personal problems. Kirsten risks her job at the Newport Group when she finds incriminating evidence that she hands over to Sandy. Summer and Anna vie to win Seth's heart. A lot goes down at the Newport Group holiday party, but Julie is determined to make it a party no one will forget. Directed by Sanford Bookstaver, written by our lovely Stephanie Savage.
Well, this has a pretty iconic, classic, amazing Seth opener as he's explaining Chrismukkah to a doe-eyed or wide-eyed deer in the headlights. That's it. Ryan and Sandy and Kirsten walk in with the tree, and what was the music here?
Sandy put a lot of like really fun, unexpected Chrismukkah. Sandy Bookstaver, our director, unexpected Christmas music in the episode. And right from the beginning, you have like a sort of jingle jangly, like it's not a traditional, OC singer-songwriter, like indie song. It's like very fun, a little bit silly, heightened Christmas music.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's not like klezmer Christmas music, mixing the two traditions from the beginning.
And it feels like this is about the time when you started writing these opening monologues for Brody and this explanation, and he just embraced it with everything.
Totally ran with it. Is wearing Josh's actual ugly Christmas sweater with the reindeer on it. And this is like, it comes in with Seth with a lot of energy. Like, I can't wait to tell you this thing. It's so amazing. And a little bit of like a want Ryan moment where like Seth kind of walks into it, not realizing that like Ryan isn't going to be like, that sounds amazing. I can't wait to start celebrating Chrismukkah with you. But it's actually like, holidays are a bummer for me. I don't like them.
Right.
I have nothing to contribute. And also like, I'm not even sure I'm going to participate in like what you're bringing to the table. So that kind of set up the stakes and the arc of the whole episode, which is really, can we get Ryan on board the Chrismukkah train? Is he going to come hang that stocking at the end of the episode?
Yeah. His little stocking.
I bet it had such a huge impact right off the bat for people who turned this episode on and went, oh, my family does that. I've never seen this.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually a Chrismukkah kid. My mom and my dad's Jewish and my mom was raised Catholic. She's not like a practicing Catholic, but we celebrated both. We didn't combine them, which had the OC been around back then, we would have. But I was a Chrismukkah kid. And I think it's so cool that you created this thing that, you know, a lot of kids can relate to.
Yeah. And also I think it was really fun. Like Josh was not a Chrismukkah kid. He's a Jewish kid that had Hanukkah. And I was, you know, a Protestant kid from Canada. And so we really got to bring, like, I actually have my mom's ornaments, our Kirsten's mom's ornaments on the tree. I brought some from home. And, you know, he was able to, I also didn't know that much about Hanukkah, so I had to get like quickly immersed in those traditions. And we kind of like built it together with things from our own families.
That's really neat. I like that little tidbit. What I liked actually, like in the beginning of the episode when Seth and Ryan are in the pool house and Seth's wrapping presents and everything, and then he talks about his starter pack, I was like, that's actually a Brody starter pack. Like that's not Seth. That is a Brody starter pack. So I don't know, like you guys, I don't know how if you knew that, you were just like, I'm just going to do Brody.
Like, I can't remember. It definitely came from Josh. I can't remember if he pitched it to me and I wrote it, or if like I started writing it and I was like, what's in this? Like any hints of what's in that cone starter pack? Because I would not have put Goonies in there. But you know, that was maybe the one Josh flourished on the Seth starter, on the Adam/Seth starter pack. But that was a really fun. It was the idea he was going to give a gift that was about himself, like this is what I like.
Yes,
give it to both.
Like here's a gift for you. About me,
and you're both going to get exactly the same version. It's not even going to be like tailored to like what you might like about me, just what I like about myself.
Right. Yes. Let's talk about narcissism. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. He's so endearingly, just so endearingly self-absorbed, which is just, but it came off so well and everybody just had a crush on him.
Yeah.
The Kirsten Sandy storyline is really poignant in this episode. And Caleb, I have to ask you, do you have a connection to Alan? Isn't he on Dynasty?
Yeah, he's on Dynasty.
Can you help get him on the show? Because we want to talk to him.
I'll totally help with that.
But Caleb, and they're still dealing with the Heights situation. And now that Caleb wants to take Sandy back to, what is it he wants to do? Sorry.
What is it that he wants to be doing?
Sandy thinks they've made a deal to sell the Heights, to buy back the Heights. And then Caleb at the last minute has asked for more money, which is now going to sabotage Chrismukkah because Kirsten and Sandy are both going to have to work through the holidays to prepare to go to trial. So Sandy's been trying to avoid going to trial, and he thought he had succeeded, but then he finds out he has not.
Right. So if they can make a deal, they don't go to trial.
Right.
Obviously. Okay. Very good. Yes. And this was another Adam scene that was just so, he's so excited about Chrismukkah and it's not going to be ruined. And I loved his puffy vest.
I wrote that too. I was like,
iconic,
that's the
Seth outfit.
coolest
It had a
vest.
sunset on it. It was like the OC logo.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
And like, it's a puffy vest, but it's like, we're in California. So it's like the vest, it's not the jacket. It's like perfect.
Yep.
And the other storyline that's going on, obviously, is Marissa is not doing so well. And
Shocking.
Marissa's one of the ones, she just wants to skip Christmas. And which can be a real, it's very interesting, Stephanie, watching it as an adult, now as a mother of a 21-year-old. And my heart breaks for Marissa every time we watch these episodes, and just not seeing the signs, Jimmy and Julie and everyone not seeing the signs of this very vulnerable, fragile child that just wants to feel safe and protected. And she doesn't.
Yeah. And that for me is a really important part of Marissa, going back to the pilot of like, we can't forget that when we meet this character, in the first episode, she like drinks so much that she's passed out in her driveway. Like that needs to feel very serious, and that culminates in, she can say what she wants, but a suicide attempt in an OD in Mexico. And then that is just so like catastrophic for her family that when it kind of seems like she's okay, they're like, great, she must be okay. Like, let's just kind of move on. And like, we kind of said she'd go to therapy, but then we never really made her. A little bit that was like us in the writers also, like we never made Marissa go to therapy. So it's time that she needs to deal with this stuff. And it's watching it, I was like, this is pretty subtle in the episode. I could have done a better job of digging this out. But the idea, and I'm jumping forward a little bit, but when she gets caught shoplifting, the idea that was kind of a cry for help. And when they're like, why did you do this? And she's like, I don't know. And she can't say it. In my mind, like Marissa actually did want to go to therapy. Like she didn't want to because it was going to be hard. But she had to do something to kind of reactivate. Like we can't just move past everything that happened, that she actually did need help. And so that was kind of her version of a cry for help that then ultimately got her to go to therapy, got her parents to kind of take her issues a little bit more seriously.
Yeah. She was probably more rebelling against it because her mom wanted her to do it. Exactly. To rebel against Julie. Yeah. So.
Oh, my daughter, it's shocking that she even agrees with me on any given day. But when she does, it's like, that's a miracle.
I think I'm already dealing with that as well. I think I made a note in here. There's a part of the episode where the way that Misha talks back to you or like says something, I'm like, oh my God, I'm already experiencing that with my 6-year-old. Like, this is terrifying.
But
there's some very, very, very realistic moments.
Yeah. I always, felt very tenderhearted towards that part of Marissa, of a girl who kind of always felt like she didn't belong in this world and was so beautiful and so like sensitive, but like there was all this attention on her, and how does she, deal with that? And does she wants to please people, but like, if that means being with Luke, or that means, doing what her parents said, it's all about her finding herself. And I always thought Misha was so good at acting those sort of darker parts of Marissa that I was very happy to write an episode where she was drinking in the bathroom, where she like drinks and drives and like rams another car. And that fight on the side of the road that Ryan and Marissa has, one of the favorite things I've ever written, just because it felt so true to where those characters were at that moment.
I just got goosebumps
Me
watching
too.
it. Yeah.
I got chills. When Ben says, like, she's like, you're scaring me. He's like, well, you're scaring me. Like, I have chills again. Because when Ben delivers that line, I teared up. I mean, I tend to do that. But like, it was so powerful. And it was written so well and acted so well, that scene.
They did such a good job with that scene.
They did.
And that story too, again, which is like a subtle, more bubbling underneath the surface story of Ryan really feeling like he can't get into another codependent relationship. Like he was taking care of his mom and now he's taking care of Marissa. So the idea that by the end of this episode, Sandy's just like, you're a kid, Marissa has parents, like let her go to therapy by herself. That's a really important Ryan story.
Yeah. Did Did you know that a simple finger prick can unlock tons of insight into your reproductive health? I'm talking egg count, menopause timing, if your hormone levels indicate conditions like thyroid disorders or PCOS, all things that are good to know whether or not kids are in your future.
That's why Modern Fertility was created. It's the easy and affordable way to test your fertility hormones at home. Mail it in with a prepaid label, and you'll get your personalized results within 10 days.
Traditional testing with your doctor can cost over $1,000, but Modern Fertility gets you the same info at $159, a fraction of the price. And if you go to modernfertility.com/OC, you can get $20 off your test. Also, if you have an HSA or FSA, you can put those dollars toward Modern Fertility.
If you want kids today or maybe one day in the future, clinically sound info about your body can help you make the decision that's right for you.
Right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off the test when you go to modernfertility.com/OC. That means your test will cost $139 instead of several hundred or even $1,000+ it could cost at a doctor's office.
Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/OC. modernfertility.com/OC.
You spend 1/3 of your life sleeping, so you want to make your bed as comfortable as possible. I love doing everything in my bed. Now that may sound weird, but I mean, when I'm relaxing and wanting to watch TV, I like to be in bed. I need a comfy bed.
I love luxurious sheets. It's kind of been an obsession of mine since my early 20s. And you may think that this level of comfort is unaffordable, but that's why you have to check out Brook Linen.
Brook Linen was started to create beautiful, high-quality home essentials that don't cost an arm and a leg. And people, what a success.
Brook Linen has something for your every comfort need. Ideal for a seasonal refresh because they're launching new products, colors, and patterns all the time. I'm talking buttery, soft, and breathable sheets, plush and absorbent towels, cozy robes, and comfy loungewear. You'll want to put on and never take off. I'm a super hot sleeper, and I love my Brook Linen Luxe sheets. They keep me cool all year round.
Yes, I just love bedding in general, and it's so beautiful. And like you said, it keeps you cool, especially during these hot summer months. I am a huge fan of Brook Linen. I love living in it.
So give yourself the comfort refresh you deserve and get it for less at Brook Linen. Go to brooklinen.com and use promo code OC to get $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100.
That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter promo code OC for $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's brooklinen.com, promo code OC. What's also so cute, they're so cute on the mall date, and the song that's playing, I love the song that's playing. Maybe It's Christmas by Ron Sexsmith.
Ron Sexsmith,
Yes?
that's right.
Yes. It's so cute, but they're so cute in the mall. And Mindy, you commented on like how Misha's in heels and like we're making.
Oh my gosh, that was
height
so
difference.
cute that you guys put her, in the montage, put her in heels.
Yeah.
So they joked
And that
about
was
that.
actually
Because Misha,
that was something that I would do differently if we were doing the show over again. Is we made Misha always wear flats, and then when we did Gossip Girl, Blake was just like, "I'm not wearing flats. Like I'm taller than everybody. You just deal with it."
Yeah, I think someone said like Misha in the test like kind of slouched down just to give Ben a little like boost because I love that Blake's like, I'm wearing heels.
Well, the other storyline that we certainly have to discuss is the Summer Anna Seth storyline,
yes.
and how Ryan is warning Seth that, dude, you're gonna have to pick here, and he's just setting himself up for I don't know, failure or life lessons, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, did you always know that it was going to be Wonder Woman?
Yes, because Warner Brothers owned Wonder Woman, so we knew we could do that. And then just thinking about like your face and your hair, and like you'd be such a cute Wonder Woman. And the costume department killed it. Like that's the best Wonder Woman costume I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was not like bought at a Halloween store.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like it was definitely from archives. I don't know what from.
Warner Brothers has a huge costume archive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I should find that out. But
where something that came from that archive that you may not know is
what?
Julie's pink juicy sweatsuit from the pilot.
Yeah. Oh, it's there.
It came. So they were very micromanaging, and we had a budget for the pilot because no one knew the show would be successful, and it seemed like it could not be. That they were like, oh, she doesn't need a real juicy sweatsuit. Just get like any pink sweatsuit. And it was like, no. And we had actually had a pink juicy sweatsuit in our Fastlane pilot that we paid the year before.
Oh my god!
Had a much bigger budget. So I was like, somebody is going to go find that juicy sweatsuit in the Warner Brothers archive, or you're going to buy me a new one because that's not fair. And so
it has to be juicy.
Yeah.
You mean they get that detailed? Like this character needs this, and somebody says no.
It was an overall note that like we didn't need to buy designer things. We could buy like things that looked like designer things.
So a lot of people have asked because that, and I thought for some reason that we were gifted a lot of, or at least lent some brand name type things. But is it true that everything was fake? Because I thought Misha actually had.
So
I don't think so. Okay,
I don't think. To my knowledge, we've never used anything that was fake. Like, sure, we might have used like a jumpsuit or juicy suit that was not, that was a different brand. But like we never had fake handbags. Or Misha was a Chanel ambassador, so she got all kinds of stuff from them directly. That graciously she allowed us to feature on the show. But to my knowledge, we've never used anything fake on the show.
Yeah, we didn't think so.
I'm not sure where that.
We didn't think so.
When you do a pilot, they're just like, what is this? Oh, it might not even end up airing on television. We can't help you. Also, pilot season corresponds with award season. So it's right at the same time as the Academy Award and the Golden Globes. So no designer has the bandwidth to be like, let me get on the phone with you and talk about this, and let me see what I have. So our selects for our pilot fashion show were slightly underwhelming given what we were trying to achieve. But over time, once the show is successful, it becomes a lot easier to get things from designers, and you don't have to
still
buy
had a Poochie on. Right.
Oh my gosh, I just remembered something, Stephanie. Do you remember that fabulous leather dress that Julie was wearing for the pilot? And I decided, because Julie was described as a woman who'd had too much plastic surgery, which I had not. But I chose to put in those cutlets, in the bra. So you see, you're like
cutlets
5 times the size of my breasts. And I remember coming to you after the show got picked up and saying, is it okay if I don't pad myself like that anymore? And you gave me permission. You're like, okay. I'm like, yeah, because I don't think I want to keep that up.
Yeah.
Speaking of padding, just, touching on the Wonder Woman costume again, I'm like, how do my boobs look so big? I must have had cutlets too. Or it was just my youth and, the baby fat goes to your boobs. Anyway.
It's a Wonder Woman outfit in many ways.
Ways. Wonder Bra, Wonder Woman. There you go.
While we're talking about wardrobe, okay, I won't do this all the time, but so I know you guys have talked a lot about Ryan's choker.
Yes. Please do. Do you have
mystery
insight?
Solved?
So I can't fully say exactly what the conversation was. I don't recall, but the idea was that Ryan was going to be very, very plain, that Ryan was someone who was a chameleon, that he had to move from environment to environment. He had good manners. He was a good kid. He had like his 3-pack of Hanes white T-shirts. He had his, gray hoodie and his jacket, his jeans and his boots. And that's kind of like that's what he came to the OC wearing. And Alexandra Welker, our costume designer, I don't think Doug Lyman would have been a part of this conversation because I don't think he would have cared, but she was like, it's very simple. Like it's very, very plain and he wears it all the time. And a lot of times costume designers like to do something where they'll give you an actor a little detail, like maybe it's a ring or a bracelet, or it's kind of that something that you have in your pocket that like maybe the audience doesn't even notice it, but it's there and there's a story behind it. So there were riffs on like, well, what could that be for Ryan that like you could see that would help make his like super plain outfit slightly less plain. And then I'll make this like a contest. There is a certain 90s TV heartthrob that had a very similar choker that we were like,
Dylan McKay? Sorry.
Not going to say.
Okay.
Someone who is an acclaimed actor today.
They're an acclaimed actor today?
Yep. Like
and
a
it's
Words-nominated independent film.
Words not Brad Pitt, no.
Was on a teen show that did one season, very acclaimed.
Oh, Jared Leto. My So-Called Life.
Yeah.
He had a choker?
He had a choker.
No.
Oh, good for you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one season, you hear one season and people My So-Called Life. Who Patrick was the costume. We had Patrick
how crazy is that?
Oh my God, wait. And then he had a choker, and so that's what she took that from?
So it was the idea, it was like, we wanted to have something, and we're like, well, if they did that, it's probably fine. And the idea was maybe like, like a girlfriend, like later when we met Teresa in this episode, or in the Thanksgiving episode, maybe Teresa gave it to him. Maybe it was something that like he and his brother had the same one. But then it was obviously so distracting that
it was so distracting.
we got rid of it. And I where the cuff came from, I cannot.
Yeah. I'm like, did you get rid of it and it transformed into a leather cuff? Like it went from neck to wrist. Like it's still there. This random leather accessory. And it's still distracting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, well, at least that now we know the story behind that's damn leather choker.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
No, listeners, you will not get that anywhere else but here. Thank you.
If it was good enough for Jordan Catalano, it was good enough for Ryan Atwood, we figured.
I mean, hey, I will say, I get it. Hearing that, I get it. I also, speaking of wardrobe, and I know I keep going back to the Wonder Woman, but when I see the dress I'm in and the hair and the makeup and everything else, I'm like, how do you not know what's coming? Like in my mind, but I also obviously know what's coming. But I was like the bright blue eyeshadow and like the tiara in my hair. And I remember we had to find a dress that actually fit over that costume, but still looked holiday and had to be strapless and the whole thing. It was quite the production.
To me, I would say the blue eyeshadow was a tell, but everything else was just so like adorable and like holiday festive that I went with it. I thought they did a really good job.
They did. There was a lot of extra hair.
Yeah.
But the blue eyeshadow was like the only, like, that's a lot of blue.
Yeah.
But maybe it was for Hanukkah.
I believed it. I mean, when you look at the choices, Anna in particular took a lot of, she's the alt girl. She took a lot of hair, makeup, blush, clothing choices. And I think all the girls had their certain styles.
Yeah.
And it was believable because it was Christmas. And especially when you see like Julie, for some reason, I had a lot of those halter dresses with the hair, like
the hair,
higher hair, higher the hair, closer to God kind of hair.
Oh, yep. I know when you walk in and your hair's done, I'm like, there it is again. We have
there it is again.
Curls on top of your head. The Julie special.
To talk about the Julie story a little bit, that she's kind of like trying to cement her relationship with Caleb after the like tragic, Marissa like unveiling it at the yacht party, that trying to really hold that position in society and like the pressure on her to make this a great party, and kind of the weird way in which the Julie Cooper aesthetic actually is the right aesthetic for the Newport Group Christmas party, because that's just a fabulous party. We actually went back to the same location that we went to for the pilot, for the cocktail party, for the fashion show, because that was such a great location and we barely saw it. We were only there for those few scenes outside. And to sort of just kind of shoot it differently, if people thought it was the same location, that would be fine, because maybe the fashion show cocktail party was at the Newport Group, or, it was somewhere else. So it was, that Christmas tree, like people still bring up that tree to me.
Right. Well, and a lot of fans wanted to know when we shoot. We always have to shoot, if it's airing in Christmas. Also, we had the baseball break. So yes, we shot in summer and it's always hot and we have to celebrate at a different time of the year. But I do want to say that is one of my favorite Julie scenes when she comes in angry, hot and angry, and she's just like, what the hell's going on? And has to say the two lines with way to rule with the iron fist, Stalin, and I'm not having my party ruined by your sticky fingers. They were so harsh that I got the giggles during rehearsal. And right before, I just kept laughing. I couldn't get it out. And it's one of those things that, you know, I try and just, it was so harsh that I would just start laughing, and then Tate would laugh, and we were all just giggling. And you have to get it out, and then you have to commit, because it was like, you're grounded, fine, starting tomorrow, because you can't mess with my life. Yeah.
That's just that's Julie in a nutshell. I'm just like, I'm trying to be a good parent. I'm trying to have boundaries. I read this in a parenting book, or like I heard somebody talking about this when I was getting my, froyo. This is how you're supposed to be a good parent. But I just really need you at this party. I can't not.
Right. I've had a lot of people comment that they really disliked Julie when they first watched it when they were young as a teenager, and now as an adult, they're like, wait, she was kind of right, because they identify with her as as an adult in that way.
I also think because Julie starts from a place of being an outsider, being from Riverside, not being like Kirsten, whose dad owns everything and is like the princess of Newport. She's got a scrappy quality where you're just like, I'm rooting for this lady. Like that actually reminds me of my mom of like, you know what? Right. Sometimes you have to be a bit of a scrapper to get what you deserve. It's not just going to be given to you. Some people just get it, and they can be very nice and calm and happy all the time because things are just handed to them. And other people, you got to work for them. There's going to be a little bit of hustle involved, and Julie Cooper's a hustler.
She's a fighter in that way. She's never going back to that. But of course, in the next subsequent seasons, we'll find that she has to go back to something and still survive. And somehow I love that she just doesn't, she does care, but then she can come right back and not really care about what people think. And then she ultimately has one of the biggest growth arcs of all of the characters. Yeah.
I think it really is cool that it shows that you can really survive anything. And Julie is a perfect example of that. But even, the death of your daughter, all of the things that were thrown at your character. And it's just a cool testament to like women and being able to survive anything.
Speaking about mothers, because this was one of my other favorite scenes in the episode, when Kirsten's looking at the paperwork and Seth comes in and says, she says she's taking a vacation, and he says, I don't judge, I only mock, which was just, I wanted to know if he had improv some of this dialogue, because it sounded like Brody, but it's maybe at that point you guys were writing for him. And
no, I should have put that up. Like the eyebrows line, were they coming in? I don't remember if I wrote that, if Josh wrote that, if Brody improv'd it. I would have to like look at scripts and compare, because again, it was so like you would be inspired by like thinking how Brody would sound if he said that, and that would make you want to write it, or like he would see something that's written and that would give him an idea for something to add I would have to check on that. I don't recall off the top of my head.
Adam was so cute though, when he's talking to Kelly in the kitchen and he does his little smile. I was like, that's so Brody, He was really cute.
It shows humor and vulnerability in just a few little lines when he talks to his mom about not knowing what to say to Ryan. And I thought I wanted to ask you if are there characters' voices that you just know inherently, or is Josh the humor? Is Stephanie the vulnerability? Like, what do you guys bring to your projects?
It doesn't quite break down like that. Josh definitely brought a lot of humor, for sure, and the voices. And I mean, he wrote the pilot, so everybody on the show is matching to that. That's the like Uber voice. And Josh was always the filter, so everything went through him. And if he didn't like something, we didn't do it. And that was just very like, make your case, state your reasons, and he'll decide. And that's kind of where the voice of the show stays consistent and doesn't, become too many different things. But Josh also is really, really empowering of the writers. So there'd be certain things like a tiny thing, but I actually think there's an example in this episode. When I growing up, we were not extremely poor, but when my dad was a student, we lived in a housing development where I got access to a lot of Ryans and Don Atwoods. And one of the things that I took away from my childhood was like a marker of how your family was doing was whether or not you had milk in your fridge. So we always have milk. And I knew that made us like very fortunate that my mom had milk in her coffee and I had milk in my cereal. But you might sleep over at someone's house where they were eating their cereal dry and you knew not to ask for milk because there probably wasn't any. And giving that to Ryan. And I just sort of told Josh that as a story of like, this is a thing that I observed. And he was just like, great, Ryan, dry cereal, black coffee. And that was the rule for the whole show. So he kind of would embrace things like that, like really profoundly, that would just be, if it resonated with him, that's what we were doing. And like, when you guys have Lila Gerstein on, I'm sure she'll want to talk about Summer's arc and like a lot of Summer's activism and Summer's love of animals and the environment really came from Lila, that those were important things to her. And as we were doing the Brown story and like, we didn't want you to stay around forever. So what could happen that could make her come back? That Lila really brought a lot of herself to that activism story, and Josh totally embraced that. So it wasn't like Lila wrote that, but like that came from Lila and became a part of the paradigm of the show. And that's like in my opinion, a true sign of like a strong showrunner who's really able to embrace ideas from the writers and make them canon for the show. That is so cool. I've never heard that before. That's either of those stories, actually. This Lila makes me think of this in Summer's arc. So when I handed my script into Josh, and I was, of course, extremely nervous. I'm like, tell me when you can read it. I'm going to send it exactly then. And then you have to call me in 2 hours after that. And that, very, very positive, really liked it. Tiny thoughts. The one note he gave me is he goes, you've written Seth too smart. He's using too many SAT words and he's not articulate like that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, Seth is like a super genius. And he's like, no, he's not. He's like, has average intelligence. He likes comic books and he likes, alternative music, but he's not like a smart geek. And I was just like, oh, but that gave me the idea of, if Seth is not super smart, maybe Summer is. And that sort of gave, oh my God. Is that where it came from? The idea that Summer might be, and when I mean smarter, I don't mean no, of course. In the world, but just at school, Summer might actually get a higher SAT score than Seth. Would be a really fun story to slow burn and bring to fruition. And that came from the realization that Seth was kind of good at school, got B pluses, because, he's going to be okay, but not the smartest.
There've been so many hints. Yeah, there've been so many hints of that, Rachel, that we've seen, when you said when Anna was making fun of you and I said, Summer's in on it, or that she read Madame Bovary. Madame Bovary, and he's like, what? And that there's these little, but you're playing, but there's just there's so many beautiful women who play, they smartly play a little bit coy or hot and cold as we say it.
I did it in high school. My acting teacher in high school sat me aside and she's like, I see what you're doing. You're playing dumb. I see it. I know that's not you, and knock it off. She's like, you're trying to get by doing that girl thing where you play, you know what I mean? And she literally, my acting coach in high school, I have so much to attribute to Judy Weldon. That was one of the things. The other things was I sulked off after an audition for a play and apologized. And she didn't give me the part, just to teach me a lesson that you don't sulk if you don't think you do good. Anyway, those are 2 lessons from her. But yeah, she was like, stop playing dumb. That's not who you are.
There's a line, I forget what episode it's in, where Summer says, I'm shallow, not stupid. And I was just like, that's exactly it. Just because you like magazines and makeup and tanning doesn't mean that you're not smart.
Tanning, gossip, and shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's what's interesting about these characters. I know you were writing a dissertation when you came to California. I don't know what it was. Was it film theory and film history or theory? But I was curious if you had to write a dissertation about the OC, I know there's some professors who've written a book of OC, the critical thinking and feminism. And there really are so many feministic themes throughout this show, and particularly with, Kirsten and Julie and Summer, these very strong women that are, Julie's very manipulative. Let's say she might be shallow because of because she likes things or superficial things, but she knows exactly what she's doing. Mm-hmm. So there's some, but, and then speaking of adults, I do want to say, the Sandy Kirsten bedroom scene where he comes in and he's late and she's going to give him that, the survey. My reaction, and again, people, I love to honor and congratulate my friends who are great fucking actors. Okay. Kirsten or Kelly and Peter are so good in this scene, and the acting choices and their relationship. I mean, they're all so good, but for some reason, this one stood out to me, that it just shows the depth of their relationship and what they do for each other. And it's one of the reasons I think that the adult storylines worked so well. And I just wanted to comment on that scene.
Yeah, it's so well acted. I mean, their whole relationship, but that scene, especially where we've been telling 13 episodes of this story, or whenever the Heights story started, maybe episode 4. Or later than that, 7. But it's been going on for a while. And to finally get to the place where Kirsten has this information that could sink her dad, and we structured it so that you wouldn't know what it was until the party. And I was actually like leaning in going like, wait, what? I kind of forget. What is this piece of paper? Structuring it a little bit more like a mystery or like a thriller than you would normally on like a, teen drama. But that she's ready to make that choice, that she's going to choose Sandy, even if it means choose her marriage, choose what's right for the environment, even if that means losing her job, which we know is really, really important to her, that her identity as a professional woman is a huge part of who she is. And so the fact that she's willing to put that on the line is really emotional.
Yeah. What I loved, how you wrote, so we've touched on the Anna and Seth and Summer thing of this episode, but what I loved was how you represented both of us acknowledging how amazing the other one's gift or surprise was. And I was like, that is really cool, because that is like, okay, girl power, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was really awesome for them both to acknowledge how incredible they thought the other one's was. And I thought that was beautiful.
Thank you. That is something that I will say, I'm not sure if we had only had like a male writer's room, if that story would have been told that way. Because
right.
Definitely I felt like it was super important that was a moment where they acknowledged, as you say, what was great about the other one. So it wasn't that Anna called Summer Wonder Whore and Summer was like, you made him a comic. What are you, in 8th grade? That those are things they said about themselves. And the other girl said that what they had done is amazing. And the idea that Anna could like draw something and tell a story was like unbelievable to Summer. And, filled her with admiration and respect and even jealousy. But that also, and then Anna felt like the way in which Summer could just like have the creativity to like fully embody, Seth's fantasy was like, she couldn't compete with that. So that moment made it's more of like a true triangle where the girls actually have their own stories with each other. And it's not just like two girls competing with Seth, which I think we did nicely over. There's lots of moments where Summer and Anna, after they find out about each other in Thanksgiving, are bonding with each other as girls and not fighting over Seth, where there's nuance to that, which I think is really important. And
I think it's
Easter egg. My friend Heather Von Rohr actually drew Seth's comic for Anna, because I really wanted it to feel like, I felt like if someone in the art department did it, it would be too like professional and like masculine. It tends to be the case that like male comics like write the female characters with like extremely large breasts and huge lips, and I was like, it's got to feel like it's drawn by a 16-year-old, 17-year-old indie girl from Pittsburgh, and so I had my friend Heather draw it for us.
That was a mystery we were trying to solve. So I'm glad you said that. I think this is this triangle that you're talking about is a perfect example of taking, not an original concept, but putting a brand new spin on it. And the idea that these girls came up with their very special, very unique gifts. One was art.
Unlike the starter pack.
Right. Yeah. Right. Unlike that, one was art and one was sex. I mean, for lack of a better word.
No, it was.
And now in the real world, it's very clear which one had the reaction of a teenage boy, which was, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. And then you all took it. We all know. I mean, I feel like it's sorry guys, if there's spoilers here, but he ends up going with art. And it's interesting because I think it probably had a huge impact on teenage girls that were maybe, just learning about their having crushes on boys, and that maybe they thought, oh, wow, I could be a cool girl who could win over a boy with art.
Right.
Or vice versa. But it was interesting that you explored it.
To be fair, she snuck over on New Year's to get it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. She's a little sneaker too.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I also like it was important that the episode ended with Seth lost both girls.
Right.
And it was
yes. I know. I love that.
Away. And they had the same caution that Ryan had of like, someone's going to get hurt if you don't, figure out what you want.
Now, was it Sandy's idea to shoot that like in a circular motion, like between the two? And that was cool. Our director.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
That was awesome.
And then, I didn't know what girl he was talking to until the camera spun around.
Right. Do you know, I'm watching the lasso bit when I like throw the lasso onto Seth. And if I remember correctly, I probably either couldn't do it or it took me like 100 times.
Probably.
I think we ended up having props having to do the lasso.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like someone was off camera and did it for me.
I mean, respectfully, lassoing someone is extremely hard. Like Cowboys fans learning.
That's a real skill. I would have had to have practiced a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to know.
No judgment.
The other scene that was a nice twist was, Caleb coming in hot and Kirsten standing her ground, and he doesn't fire her. He ends up being proud of her and says that we'll make a real estate mogul out of you yet.
Yeah. The fact that he really admires that she's willing to stand up for what she believes in, and even actually not just that, but do something kind of deceitful, like can find this thing, conceal it from him, give it to Sandy, who's a lawyer for the other side. That's very like dirty pool, but he respected it because she did it because she had an idea in her head of what she wanted to happen, and she made it happen.
What is it exactly that she found?
She found a survey that said that the Heights is seismically unsound, so he wouldn't be able to build on it anyway. So it's actually all a big con job to get money from the city.
Right.
She did the right thing.
Conservatory or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah. Got it.
So after this, the introduction of one of the most memorable characters, and I think it goes back to what you said, that ultimately this cry for help, that Marissa ends up going to therapy, and honestly, such a well-crafted scene. And I know that people ultimately didn't like Oliver. Of course, we're speaking about Oliver, but it's an impactful character. And I know that Josh has said that he would not have changed anything about that character. He says he would change other things about the show, but not this. And I agree with him. And I thought this was a really, really telling scene, because you can see that for the first time, she's relating to somebody who instantly knows her.
Right. And again, I think I could have done a better job of like setting up at the beginning. But when Oliver says you obviously wouldn't be here if you didn't want to find out what was wrong with you, that she's a little bit busted of like, she does want to get better. She does want to know what the problem is. And the fact that he sees her so clearly and is kind of, he's mysterious, but he's in the same boat. He's also seeing the therapist, presumably for some similar reason. And I think I love that character, and I love introducing him the way we did. It's pretty unusual that we would introduce a new character at the end of an episode and not like in a teaser of the next episode. But it felt important that you actually see Marissa show up for therapy to finish the arc of this episode. And that felt like the right place to run into him, to not have her go to therapy a second time. And then he's there. And it also just added to the mystery of the character, where you felt like we wouldn't be doing that unless it was important. And of course, because it is a soap, the irony that Marissa's finally doing the right thing by going to therapy, and it's going to lead to bringing this character to her world. It's very similar that when Kirsten goes to rehab in the future, brings back with her a nefarious woman who's going to create problems in the OC. So I think the issue with Oliver from a fan perspective was just that we had him in so many episodes. That was when we got our back 9 ordered. They didn't order 9. They ordered 13 or many more extra episodes, because we did 27 that first year, which is virtually as many episodes as you can do without having 2 crews shooting at one time. And if Oliver had shown up as he did in this episode as a tease, and then the next episode, he seems nice, but like one of the characters has wind that he's not nice. And then in the next episode, they tell somebody, and now, they're in the 3rd episode, Oliver is vanquished. That would be like a great little guest arc. But the fact that we had so many episodes, I think it put a strain on the audience, just having to have that so many versions of that story. And it kind of took a long time for the characters to cotton on to what he was up to. But I think Taylor Hanley did such a good job with embodying that character. And it was really fun to have somebody who was that kind of charismatic sociopath in the world that we had kind of set up with these kids who were, they were privileged, and but they were ultimately pretty naive. Like, they didn't know a lot about the world. And it was fun to watch them kind of get manipulated by this guy.
We had some questions from people about Oliver. Did his parents actually own the penthouse?
I'm not
Remember,
sure
we didn't know
that.
It was like there was some
Josh
vague
didn't know
things.
either.
Yeah.
Josh
Okay,
was like,
so
I
then-
don't
Maybe
know.
they did, or was that an Oliver lie?
Yeah.
Right.
Either way, I don't remember.
Up for interpretation. But, the end of the episode is really, really sweet after all is said and done, with Ryan and Seth and the stocking.
Yeah, and
And the Christmas card.
Yeah, the point of the whole episode is driving to this idea of like, can Ryan let go of the past, which requires letting go of the past, but also letting go of Marissa to some degree, because he's, repeating behaviors that have, made his life really heavy in the past. And Sandy kind of giving him permission to just be like, don't go, be with us. This is your holiday. She doesn't, she's got a family, and we're your family, and this day is for you. And the sweetness of kind of like Ryan, Ben did a great job of just sort of like trotting out and like kind of hiding the stocking and like sticking it on, and then just like quickly darting out of the room, and the family's all just like, yes, we got him. And then that holiday card, the Chrismukkah card that became so iconic at the end of the show. Again, something that we wouldn't normally do, and with like a image on screen like that, but it felt perfect for the episode.
Absolutely. It's so sweet, that Chrismukkah card. I think it was the perfect button, if I do say so myself.
Well, that was the episode of Chrismukkah. And Stephanie, we've got some quiz questions for you.
I will do my best. I'm nervous.
What 5 items are in the Seth Cohen starter pack?
Oh boy. Death Cab for Cutie, Bright Eyes, Goonies. There's 2 more things. Is there a
hint?
comic
One's
book?
a book. A book.
Oh, Cavalier and Clay.
Mm-hmm.
And
one more band.
what's the genre of the last thing?
Band. Indie.
Death Cab, Bright Eyes. I don't remember.
It rhymes with chins.
The Shins!
Yes. Although, thinking about it, Brody, maybe Goonies would have been the movie Rad, the BMX movie. That may have been the swap out if Brody
Josh is definitely a huge Goonies fan.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, speaking of music, were you as into the music? I mean, as obviously Josh, and did you have a lot of influence on the music as well?
Working on this show actually made me fall in love. And a lot of the like vintage tracks of the show came from me. Like Mazzy Star was like my suggestion in the pilot. 'Cause, I mean, that's a song that I grew up with. But it actually really made me fall in love with contemporary music in a way that I had kind of given up. And so that was a really fun working with Alex and Josh and like being like, well, I want to be a part of this too. Like, if this is what you guys are listening to, I'm listening to it also. And like then finding my own things and bringing those in and forcing poor Matt Ramsey to like put, 14 songs to picture before we could pick the one that we wanted. And of course, the one we wanted was always, not available or, too expensive. And then we'd have to fight for it. But yeah, it was a huge part of the show. We made a Chrismukkah CD, which I think you can still buy on Amazon.
Oh no, there was, yeah. Oh, Chrismukkah, yeah.
Which a lot of the songs from this episode are on.
Didn't we record a Christmas song, or was it just a song? McGee had the cast.
Yeah,
it was just a song.
It was like a Welcome to California kind of song.
If we could find that track, that would be, yeah. Yes, he should. I think he is gonna.
An archaeological artifact, to be sure.
Oh, gosh.
There's another question, and I'm going to ask this one. I'm kind of skipping down, Mindy, because it's fun. What movie does Sandy want to watch? Sandy? What movie does Sandy want to watch in this episode?
He wants to watch the thumb wrestling Sylvester Stallone movie that is called... What's it called? How can I forget? It's
called Over the Top.
Over the Top.
That is definitely a Brody influence, right? Isn't that a Brody influence?
That might be a Josh influence, because I will tell you that the name of a character in Over the Top is Lincoln Hawk, which became the name of Rufus Humphrey's band in Gossip Girl.
Oh.
Huh.
Okay. So I just remember that movie prominently being talked about, and it could have been Josh or Brody, interchangeable, like as we know.
Hey, I have a question that I've been thinking about for months, and I'm very curious if there is a process, or is it a very simple process of coming up with the title of each script?
It's not simple. There is a process. Obviously, every episode of the OC had a "the" in front of it. And same when, Friends did like the one about whatever. And then I think at first we tried to give them like quite a bit of like thought and like profundity, that like the episode called The Heights was like about the development, the heights, but also Ryan had a fear of heights, and then he had to go on the Ferris wheel with Marissa. And so, something like that feels like actually a good title. So I think when, in later episodes, I remember Josh and I wrote The Summer Bummer. It was like, it was just a bummer. It happened to summer. So, that's what we called it. We felt a little freer by the time we got into like episode 70, 80, 90.
The Summer Bummer. That's good.
I thought that was interesting, because I noticed, for instance, when we interviewed Deborah J. Fisher, that a lot of her shows had similar themes. Do you use that in your new shows? Do you try to make the titles a theme?
Yeah, on Gossip Girl, all the titles are kind of puns on movies. So, or like classic movies where one word will be different, or something's changed.
Like what? Can you think of one?
like Never Been Kissed became Never Been Marcused because Blair started seeing a guy named Marcus.
That's cute.
It was a thin line between love and hate became a thin line between Chuck and Nate.
That's really cool. I like. So yeah. I'm a big pun fan.
Yeah, like puns.
I like things punny.
A pun or a theme or something that feels like it's pulling together different aspects of the show.
So
yeah. Well, let's listen to some voicemails from some fans and answer some questions.
Hi, it's Paula from Canada. If Stephanie Savage was a character on the OC in high school, who would she be?
Yeah, maybe my cousin.
Was it?
If it's not, hello, my cousin Paula from Canada. I was definitely, when I was in high school, probably like an Anna and Marissa combo of like Anna in my taste and kind of expression, but Marissa in my inner being.
Hi, Rachel. Hi, Mindy. My name is Rachel, and I am listening from Ontario, Canada. In this episode, Seth creates these Seth Cohen starter packs and gives them to Anna and Summer, and then eventually they make their way to Sandy and Kirsten. But my question for you is, if you were to create a Summer Roberts or Julie Cooper starter pack, what would they include, and who would you give them to?
That's a great question.
I know, Steph. Maybe you can help me with Summer.
Well, it would include a subscription to like a tanning bed, lip gloss,
for sure.
A novel that was like surprising that it was one of Summer's favorites, like a Matter.
She's like Fountainhead
novel.
Yeah.
Some gossip magazines.
Mm-hmm.
A DVD of The Valley.
Right.
That'd be great.
You know what movie I think that Summer would have loved, but maybe this is too old because I'm older. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but the movie with Kirsty Swanson. Like, I feel like that would be, I don't know.
That's
maybe that's just
reference.
me because I loved that movie. That's my little addition, but you did it perfectly.
I thought, I thought Julie's starter pack should include Bob Seger.
Yeah.
Poison. Duran Duran. Then I thought, because I was thinking currently, 50 Shades of Grey, all of the books, and Devil Wears Prada as a film. But then I thought, She Loves Evita. She stands on the balcony and she's like, look, because there was, I'm one of those actors that will steal things. Like, what am I doing in this scene? And I literally thought, do you remember, there was a scene in Caleb's big mansion where I was on a balcony talking to people,
like, and
I did the costume and the hair. I was channeling Evita with the hair. And I remember thinking, yep, that's what Julie aspires to be.
That's beautiful.
I love that.
I might also throw in the porn identity.
Yeah, obviously. That's the opener. You start with that.
She's the CEO of Pornhub right now. I mean, but this show launched the careers and what we're experiencing doing this podcast, but launched the careers of so many people, not just actors, but writers, crew members. And it has had such an impact. And it's just such a pleasure to get to revisit it and reconnect with you and have these conversations. We wouldn't be doing this medium or having these conversations without this medium. So it's been so lovely to catch up, and congrats on the newest Gossip Girl and all of your success. And everybody's going to tune in, and I'm excited. I'm excited to watch it.
Thank you so much, guys. This was super fun. It was really fun to rewatch the episodes and then chat with you.
Thanks so much, Steph.
All right.
It was really fun.
Bye.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Follow, rate, and review Welcome to the OC Bitches wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you like to watch us, check it out on YouTube.